The 5th annual U-Staff Classic was spiced up a little more today when another Olympic gold medal winner at Montreal made his surprise arrival. Edwin Moses, who won the gold medal in the 400-meter hurdles, will run in tonight's final event. That's the mile relay. Despite a menacing cold, Edwin will undoubtedly make his Morehouse College teams one of the favorites in that event tonight. Edwin had probably one of the most interesting stories to tell at Montreal this past summer. Before he won the gold medal in that 400-meter hurdle event, he'd only run in that event for 1 year. You might remember that after he did pick up the gold medal, he made that famous victory lap with his American teammate Mike Shine, who took the silver medal by finishing second. Mike is not here, but as we said, Edwin is, and he'll be running in that final event, the mile relay, at 10 o'clock tonight. Before that, though, there's plenty of action. The pole vault will begin at approximately 6:30, and Ferris Roll out of Florida State University, who holds the meet record at 17 feet 2 inches, is back this year. Of course, the big event of the night will be the 60-yard dash, or the Super 60 as it's called, featuring Auburn's gold medal winner from Montreal, Harvey Glantz. Now, his stiffest competition will come from a guy who's already turned in a better time than Harvey this year, a 5.9. That'll be one of the bigger events tonight. So you can see there's plenty of action to come at Garrett Coliseum tonight. This is Lee Webb, WSFA TV Sports. Jay, did you think you could beat him all along?
Well, I figured sooner or later I had to beat him, you know, really.
Did you get out of the blocks well?
Well, better than usual, you know. I always figured if I get a decent start, I could either run with him or beat him. You know, it's as simple as that.
You had all the confidence all along, yeah?
Well, like I said, sooner or later I knew I'd beat him, you know. I don't know, I was pretty excited about it.
Have you heard your time yet?
No, not important.
Was Harvey, beating Harvey, what you came down here for? Was that the challenge all along?
Yeah. Really. A couple of days ago, I wasn't going to come to this meet. You know, I was going to go to Montreal and miss this meet. Coach Williams taught me to come in, so.
Because Harvey was here?
Sure. Because he was here.
Disappointed, Harvey?
Well, I would say so. You know, it just hasn't been my day as far as coming out of the blocks, and the arch and the tendonitis is really affecting me. You know,
I saw how heavily you have that taped. It's still bothering you, huh?
Oh yeah, see, it's heavily taped right now, but I'm still trying to run on it. But I just got to get off the circuit for a while, you know, and give it a chance to get well, and I got to get back into the groove because I just don't enjoy losing. It's just simple as that.
You going to run tomorrow night?
Well, I don't. If it were up to me, I wouldn't, you know. But if coaches, if coach otherwise, you know, make me go up there, that's the only way I go. But if on my own, I wouldn't go because, just like I said, I know it's hampering me, you know.
You feel like you're letting people down. I know that, don't you?
Well, not as much as I feel as I'm letting myself down. That's it. And once you start feeling like that, you know, it's real wrong. And it's like I said,
take some time off, rest.
I've got to get it back healthy, you know, because there's no doubt I'm running good times, but what is good time when you're not winning, you know? And I mean, I'm running as consistent as possible, but to me, I'm letting myself down, and the type of person that I am, I feel as though I'm letting other people down also.
no, it hadn't really changed the way I think. I guess I think the same way. Also because I know what went into it. You know, it wasn't so much a surprise for me as everybody else. But it just changed the way people look at you. Everybody's attitude changes. You know, they look at you as something great, which I never really thought about while I was trying to do it.
You had a very interesting story. You'd only been running the 400-meter hurdles a year before. How did you manage to be so successful in it in such a short period of time?
Well, this time last year, I was just thinking about running them, and I never really got to run them until March. So I was concentrating on bringing my time down in the quarter and getting my technique together in the high hurdles. And, you know, I guess those are the two basic things that an intermediate hurdler has to do.
You want to get some? So people can go.
We might. Somebody's got to go. We went again to Atlanta yesterday and
He can take you. Come on, Brian. Let's see.
Brian.
See that Campbell thing?
You getting them on too? Hey, you on TV now.
A week ago, a construction crew working on a federally funded park near Fort Toulouse made a surprising discovery. While digging up an area for a concrete foundation, they came across what was apparently a trash pit associated with the fort. And over the years, that pit had collected a wealth of broken artifacts. Such an area is extremely valuable to archaeologists, so those working at the site took immediate action to save what they could before the cement started pouring.
Well, we discussed it with the contractor, and the contractor agreed to slack off, and Bullard and Rogers have been real cooperative with it. We discussed it with the Corps, got their permission to dig it because it happened to be on Corps land. Then we took the whole crew from the fort here and began our excavation in one area to test it.
You evidently did a lot of scrambling. In that scrambling time, what did you find?
Well, in the scrambling time, we just found out whether we could work or not, and then we found about 10,000 or so artifacts. Associated with the French, the British, and a lot of Indian, basically Indian stuff. But they were definitely associated with the French here in the fort.
What's some of the history behind those artifacts?
Well, as yet, it's going to be a lot of study to give us the exact history. It's an isolated pit. It could be with a village. It could be one of the earlier villages, or it could be some of the French living outside of the fort. Either way, it's trade goods that have not just trade goods, but household goods that have gotten into the pit, either through misuse and they're tired of them or whatever.
What's going to happen now that concrete is going to be poured over part of the area? Is this going to cause you any loss?
Well, primarily no. There will be nothing lost archaeologically here. It'll be sealed under the concrete. If in the future the archaeologists can do some more work, they can get under there. Now, the area outside of the structure that's in question will be dug at a later date. We can get the other half of the pit, but we got the majority of it during this rush period.
Construction has now begun on restoring more of the walls that once surrounded this historic fort, and at the same time cement is being poured over the remaining artifacts in the recently discovered garbage area. Officials are sad to see clues to the past blanketed by concrete, but at the same time they're glad they've excavated what they could, with the knowledge that whatever they didn't get this time will still be there at some future time when the opportunity is better. From Fort Toulouse in Elmore County, Bill Weaver, WSFA TV News.
On behalf of Governor Wallace and the Alabama Petroleum Council, it's my pleasure to present you this flag.
Thank you, sir.
The Alabama Petroleum Council, in showing its continued interest in safety and your things for the last year, I want to present you with this watch.
It was a surprise. It's something that I think every trooper wants. Every trooper has his sights on, and to me it's one of the greatest honors that can be bestowed upon any trooper.
Why did you decide to take a career in law enforcement?
It started a long time ago. We had a sheriff in our neighborhood that took time to be out with all the kids. If they had problems, he was there with them. And I watched him, and I watched how he lived, and I decided that one day I was going to follow him.
Yeah, he's the one doing it. Okay, thank you.
Clear title, now about 13 and a half acres. The rest will be able to get a clear title on about 3 months.
Okay, you better understand now how she was dealing from where. These are some of the creeks right now. Consider a flood state here right now. And one real nice piece of property right off to the right, if you come in on the creek road. The first piece of property out there.
You said 18 acres.
Yeah, well, under the hood block grant, what we have to do is go shoot and have a block of spray.
On the line, 6 rounds, load and holster. Ready on the right, ready on the left, ready on the firing line. Fire!
There ain't no focus on that.
More nervous, everybody watching, but got lucky that day and everything was going right. Sort of like playing golf or tennis. You have good days and bad days. That was just a good day. Actually, there's no difference in the technique from one shooter to the other. I think probably what helps to win would be a strong desire to win. I think that'd be true in any kind of sport. But equipment plays a large part. We've taken these guns like we carry on duty and we've made them more accurate. If there is an edge, I would have to say it would probably be in the equipment that a shooter could put together.
Somebody told me yesterday that when somebody sees you with your glasses on, that they say, how could this guy be such a good shot?
Well, all you have to see is the sights. If you can see the sights and you got it pointed where you want it to go, you'll hit there. So really, it's you see a lot of guys that have poor eyesight are good shooters because of that fact.
The next National Pistol Team Championships will be held in Jackson, Mississippi in September of this year, and Sergeant James Collins and the rest of the State Trooper Pistol Team will be ready to take on all comers then. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
George, these bills will further clarify any problem that might develop for the cities or the counties that now levy a so-called sales tax. It just further clarifies the original bill. The main body of the bill does not in any way prohibit these subdivisions of government, counties and cities from having their own tax measure, but under the original bill, it would eliminate the collection facility of the Department of Revenue, which many counties and cities now use. And of course, never was it intended in any way for us on state level to try to preempt the privilege of these subdivisions of having their own revenue measures. And of course, the bill in itself doesn't do that. But this just clarifies for the benefit of the cities and the counties that they may continue to do what they're doing and that the Revenue Department may continue to collect this for them if they elect to do so.
Weeds of this address be prosecuted. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor, please signify by raising either hand.
Filed an application for assistance.
The abatement of weeds of this address be prosecuted. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor, please signify by raising either hand.
Unanimous.
Next, try by raising either hand.
Unanimous. Authorized to make grants for mass transportation projects, where it's a contract for financial assistance and impose certain obligations.
For discussion and questions. You will note, ladies and gentlemen, that that we have a line ad hoc committee of the council about 6 to 8 months ago that recommended authorized under resolution 53-77 for the abatement of weeds of this
system of the city transit system. And Mayor General Officer authorized to execute and file with such application to be utilized to the fullest extent possible in connection with this project, and that definite procedures shall be established and administered to ensure that minority business should have the
request for capital expenditure. Open for discussion and questions. You will note.
Oh, that dude. It's been 15 months since Bernard Whitehurst was shot and died on this spot. Since that time, some police officers have resigned, one has retired, and some others have been fired. Officials said the polygraph episode would end the affair, but it just well may be that the affair is just beginning. TV 12 News will try to put the past and future in perspective in a WSFA TV News special report, The Whitehurst Affair, Saturday at 6:30.
On December 2nd, 1975, the body of slain robbery suspect Bernard Whitehurst was brought out of this alley between two boarded-up houses. But unlike these houses, which are closed, the Bernard Whitehurst case is very much open. Saturday night at 6:30, Channel 12 News will give you a perspective of the Bernard Whitehurst affair and what we may expect to see happening in the future. Saturday night at 6:30 on TV 12.
We played a tremendous part in the development of this nation. When you saw the hard work, we were there. When you saw the dangerous work, we were there. When you saw the dirty work, we were there. We played a tremendous part in the development of this nation. And some people have the nerves to go around and say that the blacks ought to go back to Africa, that we all ought to go back to Africa. Well, when someone tells me that, I answer the question this way, that when the Italians go back to Italy, that when the Germans go back to Germany, that when the Cubans go back to Cuba, that when the Vietnamese go back to Vietnam, and when the Englishmen go back to England, and the white man gives the Indians their land back, then I'll be more than happy to go back to Africa. Where I could see the Lester Maddocks and the Rap Browns can join hands and sing together, we shall overcome. Where I could see the Bobby Seals and the Bobby Sheltons join hands and sing that I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And that will be the day, General, that will be the day, Colonel, when all of us, regardless of the color of our skin, lock our arms around each other and sincerely say within our hearts, thank God, and thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Thank you very much.
Now, as far as the agreement is concerned, I did not prepare the agreement. It had nothing to do with the preparation of it. That was prepared in my absence. 2, I did not negotiate it. I had nothing to do with negotiation of the agreement. It was negotiated in my absence. I did not sign the agreement. Other parties signed it. We all know who signed it, but I did not sign it. I have no obligation or compunction to perform in any way under the auspices of that agreement. And I'm not going to say or do anything which will lead the public to believe that their district attorney had anything to do with the negotiation, preparation, and performance and execution of that agreement. I'm just not going to do that. Now, no matter how Mr. Robinson, Mr. Farmer want me to be a party to that agreement, I am not. Now, insofar as what transpired in the grand jury room, I am prohibited by law from discussing all the things that went on in the grand jury room. There were a lot of statements made in the grand jury room by myself and others. And the grand jury had a lot of questions to ask. But I'm not going to talk about what went on in the grand jury room because the law prohibits that. All I've been trying to do is enforce the law. And I could explain a whole lot of things, but I'm just not going to do that.
Did you agree privately with the Attorney General to take a polygraph test?
Well, now, the Attorney General and I talked about a polygraph test. We did. And there was some talk about me taking it as an inducement to get others to take a polygraph test. The only ironclad understanding that I had with the Attorney General was, and I wrote him a letter to this effect, was that if those persons who were accused by the grand jury of perjury and lying to the grand jury and the cover-up and the gun planting and the dope planting by the body of Bernard Whitehurst would take a polygraph test and pass it, and it showed that they had not been lying to the grand jury or trying to cover up, then I would take one. And that's the understanding I had with the Attorney General. Other than that, I had no other understandings with him.
As I say, there's a need for new communications equipment. Communications equipment costs money. The radio equipment that the police department has is antiquated. I don't think it can adequately cover the city, but that's expensive.
How would you rate the leadership?
I don't do personnel investigations. It's not my responsibility. I will submit some recommendations to the mayor. I'm not going to discuss them. I'm not going to rate the leadership.
In terms of the quality of the communication system at this point, how serious is the problem of the
I think the problem of the communications is a problem. I think it won't cover the city. It doesn't cover the city. It limits the supervision on the street because of the fact that the supervisors on the street, and there are street supervisors, lieutenants and sergeants, that can't hear the two-way conversations or can't talk to cars across the city, and I think that creates a problem. One of ways of making a police department operate satisfactorily is street supervision. Police officers must be supervised in the same manner as anyone else with the tremendous responsibility that they have, and it's very important.
Is that number one, in your opinion?
Well, the number one is the operation of the uniform man, the patrolman.
It's the street.
That's the street man. That's the man on the street. And number two is the supervision that he receives on the street. Now, Montgomery does have lieutenants and sergeants on the street, and at night, captains. And this is good. This is where the supervision is. You can't supervise somebody from sitting behind a desk in headquarters building. You've got to get out and see what's going on. But your communication system serves as a detriment to that street supervision.
Tempo 214, 247, KLV 534. 26. 530. 3037 good, 6-1 plus paramedic. That's 10-4, detective in route. 10-4 is going to be a self-inflicted. You know? That's 10-4, detective in route. 10-4 is going to be a...
I think it won't cover the city. It doesn't cover the city. It limits the supervision on the street because of the fact that the supervisors on the street, and there are street supervisors, lieutenants and sergeants, that can't hear the two-way conversations or can't talk to cars across the city, and I think that creates a problem. One of the prime ways of making a police department operate satisfactorily is street supervision. Police officers must be supervised in the same manner as anyone else with the tremendous responsibility that they have.
Depending on what the recommendations are, it could take a year or two before a new communication system is installed here, and it will probably cost $500,000. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
The reason that we're meeting this morning is to try to organize a citizens group to find out what we can about holding down the cost of our power and or getting it lower than it is. We're all very concerned about the power bills that we are having to pay nowadays. And so we decided that we would organize a group or try to organize a group in our community or even statewide if possible. And we've decided that we're going to name our organization OUCH. which means our utilities can hurt. And if you are, you can write to Ouch, 445 Northeast Bypass to find out just why our energy bills are so high and our bills that we're having to pay nowadays. And so we decided...
Which I think is completely out of line myself. But what we're wanting is a complete explanation of the computation.
I went out and looked at my meter and it was...
We can't. Right now, we owe the power company $326, you know, and we either pay them or not eat, you know, or rather not eat and pay them or eat and not pay them. We aren't poor by any means, but we do feel that it's really way out of line, and so we'd like to, you know, try to do something about at least controlling or stopping this continual increase in the rates. I think that's what's really getting to us, you know. The possibility of what kilowatt hours we use, you know, we can try to control that in our own homes, but the real crux of the thing is the cost of the power.
What do you think about the nuclear plants and the construction that the Alabama Power Company is going through, that they're using the rate increases as justification for why they need the money to expand to have more power?
I don't believe that. The usage, according to my bill, almost doubled in December and January, yet there were no brownouts. Therefore, I don't believe that they're that short on power plants to justify spending all this money.
What basically is it and why is it? And what state law requires the power? And number 5 is, why is there an apparent excessive increase? What basically is it and why is it? And what state law requires this added fee?
And it's going fast. Is there any way I can slow it down?
That's going always put you a small brake over on, if you get in there, put you a small brake over here. That'll slow it
Give
down.
me a screw and I put it on slow. Man, that thing's spinning. Talk to them. I guess the next thing we'll do, if we don't pay them, they'll disconnect. And then it'll be candle lights and firewood. And maybe buy ice again. But hey, Felix, should I turn the furnace on to see how quick it speeds up? Go turn it on.
Merle Rowland and Joanne Rowland.
Yeah, whiskey? Yes, I love it.
That's about as barbaric as anything you can get, and it's filthy. You have to sleep on the floor. If you're a trustee, you can do anything you want to. You can go out and go to the farm center and go home with your wife, or get drunk, or just about anything you want to do down there. Well, this trustee just told me, he said, you can't knock it, so you got all the food you want and all the sex anytime you want it.
Did you ever talk to the sheriff about this?
No, I didn't have a good chance.
Houston County Sheriff A.B. Clark was not present in the courtroom today to hear allegations made by former inmates and some present inmates of the jail. Other testimony is expected to be heard tomorrow, and testimony in this suit is expected to take several more days. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News at the Federal Courthouse.
So I think if we had some financial support from a city, that this would really help our fire department.
Some of the benefits I see is that we will have revenue sharing money coming in. We cannot receive it unless we are city, have an entity. It'll come to the probate judge office to the county. If we were a city, we could have better police protection, better fire protection, and receive more revenue, and will benefit the whole population in the tri-community area.
And these decisions have been set aside by little legal technicalities. And I feel that everyone should have the opportunity and the privilege of voting to have a city. And if the majority prevails, I think we should have a city. And also it would give us some political clout in the county.
Your insurance will probably drop $5 or $6 every 6 months. But look what it's going to cost, Bill, to come back and pay for all these goodies that we are supposed to get.
I don't know of any incorporation in the state of Alabama that's not head over heels in debt. And in 1960, I moved out of here to get out of incorporation. And also there's a lot of old people, elderly people, retired people that has moved out in this community that just are able to stay above making a living and own their own place, which if it gets incorporated, they'll just have to sell out and move. I'm bitterly opposed to it because we have a fine community and we're not in debt, and I just don't believe all this giveaway that they'll give everybody that come along everything they want, what they want, without a tremendous cost to each person.
Those opposed to incorporation here say that if they don't win at the polls tomorrow, they could win again in court. But this time they claim they can afford that, and tomorrow's vote, they say, will probably settle the decade-long controversy over whether Millbrook should be countrified or cityfied. From Millbrook, Alabama, Bill Weaver, WSFA TV News.
Well, I introduced a resolution in the state legislature requesting each school to implement an affirmative action program. At this time, Representative Rick Manley of Demopolis, Alabama, went to the mic and had my resolution sent to the Rules Committee, stating that insofar as these schools received large sums of money
from the federal government, HEW, that the appropriate place to make the complaint would be with HEW. So I took him up on his word. Now, if HEW fails to act, then I discussed this yesterday with the attorneys, and we are going to systematically sue every school in this state for discriminating against blacks in employment because it's wrong and it's unfair.
No doubt that this turn down of the thermostat has come to the fore and has been doing a real job for all of us.
To give you an example, to put things in perspective, we're talking about allocating 48 million cubic feet tomorrow to the high priority industrial uses. Looking at our system as a whole, which covers the states of South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama, Mississippi, and a part of Tennessee and a part of Florida, we could notice on a cold day that we were conserving approximately 70 million cubic feet a day. This was that much gas was what was being conserved. So you can compare the 70 million cubic feet a day, which we were able to put into our storage field to help get it back in shape, against the 48 million, which we'll be allocating tomorrow, and you can see it's a very significant effect.
But I want to point out emphatically that this does not mean that the gas crisis is over. One reason we're able to do this is because, as I said, the acquirement of other sources, plus the conservation efforts on the part of Alabamians, and I hope Alabamians will continue to keep their thermostat turned to 65 during the day and 55 during the night.
Well, I tell you, I think it's wonderful. I think the people have spoken. It's been a lot of hard work on the incorporation committee. It's evident we've done hard work. We got 82% of the people out, and that was our goal.
Well,
Judge, how you doing? Good, right, man. I sure am glad to hear about your result.
We had good luck today and everything.
Yeah.
Not in it this time, and they couldn't vote. And then Ms. Sullivan spoke her piece. And Mr. Sullivan said to her, all the tallying and all the voting went good, and we had people to come down that didn't know for sure whether they were in the area or not in it, and the ones that, after we showed them on the map that they was not in it, they turned and went on out. The only ones in the that was in the area where to be voted on, you had to live there to vote. So we had no trouble once we explained it to them.
So you don't think
611?
That's correct.
59 plus 75. 134.
134 is correct.
Very good. I really appreciate your job.
82%.
across the eastern plains of Colorado for most of the day. It forced the closing of several schools and damaged some farms. Travel was risky on many of the back roads, with visibility at times near zero. Most of the highways headed east out of the state were either closed or permitted only limited traffic. But the biggest concern was the wheat crop on the heavily farmed plains. The wind, which kicked up during the night, had lifted much of the topsoil and exposed the roots of the young wheat sprouts. In the small community of Last Chance, several farmers had congregated at a local restaurant. Jim Chenoweth, who has been farming in Colorado since the 1950s, seemed optimistic about the survival of his crops.
I've seen it much worse than this. I grew up in the 30s in Kansas, and I have seen many a day that I couldn't see across the road when I'd go home.
What does this mean to you as a farmer?
Well, it means if we get this very many days, we won't have a wheat crop, and we'll probably see a good deal lower prices in the cattle.
How many of these could you sustain, keep going, storms like this?
Well, it depends on whether we get some moisture in between. I would say 3 like this, and there probably won't be much wheat left.
The key to the farmer's plight right now is moisture, and weather reports say rain or snow is possible later this week. But if it doesn't happen, this dust storm could just be the beginning of the end for a large part of Colorado's wheat crop. This is John Neal reporting from eastern Colorado.
The order, first of all, grants a permanent injunction against the city for paying any attorney's fees for the defense of officers Lideker, Kerner, and Bush. The second thing that the order does is it establishes what I call guidelines to the city on further cases. It says, number one, that the city may employ attorneys for defense of its employees, provided 3 criteria are met. The first criteria is that, number one, that the city has an interest in the outcome of the lawsuit. Number 2, that the officers acted within the line and scope of their employment. And that 3, that the acts allegedly committed were done in good faith. Court in this case said that when a grand jury indicts someone, that the acts cannot be in good faith, and therefore certainly in perjury cases, that it was not good faith on behalf of the officers, that it was not done within the scope of their duties, and that the payments were illegal.
Norman, I think we've had a clear victory on this. I believe the judge, in his order and in his decision, made it clear both to the city and to the people, to the citizens of the city, what the city could do and could not do. I believe this was a very good verdict.
Okay.
I think is very important and will concern each member of the House. It's the report of the State Judicial Compensation Commission.
This resolution from our legislature asking them to enter into an agreement to let the people of Alabama have this.
Well, no, came through. We got Carter,
School officials in this Portland suburb are working this month to give 9,000 elementary and junior high school students a short course in school bus emergency procedure.
Now, hopefully, none of us have to go through any of this, but you never know.
The bus drivers teach the classes, explaining about first aid kits, road markers, fire extinguishers,
right,
and how to turn off the ignition in the event the bus driver is disabled.
It's going to reach on it. Okay, push on that. I'll push on it. Okay, now you pull on it. Good. Okay, thank you.
Also covered, how to get out of the bus in a hurry.
Okay, how about the back door now? Pull up hard. Can you pull up on it? There we go. Okay, fine.
It's a program that is required, and the only thing that we've done different is formalize it this year. Instead of leaving it up to the drivers, we've done it on the basis of picking a school and putting enough buses there to get all the students in the school. And this program's really worked a lot better, and we're getting much more response from the kids.
And the drivers say the youngsters remember what they are told.
If you can get out of the windows fast enough, you're safer and, you don't get hurt as much.
The entire training program is costing about $200 in driver overtime, but people here say it's paying off in greater student discipline, which in turn allows the drivers to do their jobs with fewer distractions.
Leave everything in the bus except yourself. Coats, purses, lunch boxes can all be replaced. We cannot replace you. Coat behind him.
Thankfully, school bus mishaps are relatively rare. But if one should happen here, these students will be better equipped to save their own lives as well as the lives of others. For NBC News, this is Don Porter in Portland, Oregon.
Have some of you seen them on the highway when trucks are broke down? They're really very visible, aren't they?